We're live? Yeah, I think we're live. What up, my beautiful nerds? Today's special guest, the one, the only, Matt from. I need a better drum roll than this. Epic Roll, baby.
Epic
What
roll.
up, Matt?
What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm just happy it's the end of the week, really.
Fridays are the
Really.
best, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm so exhausted. Let me ask you, how's the weather where you are right now?
It's kind of overcast and cold. We get these like pockets of days, every once in a while where it's like nice. Like in Virginia, you have a few months of good weather because it's either like really humid and hot or, overcast and you get these little pockets between like spring and fall where it's kind of the best. And
Oh,
so right now, yeah, we're kind of still chilly and cold and overcast. My parents live in Ranchos Palos Verdes in California. Their backyard overlooks the ocean and Catalina Island. So every day that I talk to them, they're happy to show me how amazing their background is, and it looks like London, England over here. So.
Shit. Well, Matt, it's been 2 winter storms, a couple of ice storms, and now it's starting to melt again in Montreal. But it's gonna freeze over again and be back to frozen hell soon. So I'm happy you have good weather today.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
So, Matt, before we get started, we dive into the Epic Roll and this amazing gear you have. Actually, I'm a big fan of your hoodies and your bags.
Hey, thanks, man.
This is so comfy. This is like a pajama for me, to be honest. It's like hybrid cotton, guys. It's really good on the chest and around here.
To say.
How good in it, right? My wife said, "Wow, that's nice." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right?" And she's not like jiu-jitsu related at all. She said, "That's a nice hoodie." Like, yeah, so I'm not crazy. It is nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, we wanted to make sure we had really, the highest quality stuff possible without being insanely priced,
Yeah, for sure. So, Matt, I always have to ask people in their martial art, what drove you down this crazy path of pajama, strangling, wrestling, sweaty men, and all that crazy stuff? What possessed you, Matt?
So, I think it was around. So I started jiu-jitsu in 2005, and I want to say it was kind of the popularization of the Ultimate Fighter show that was out. I was a fan of the UFC, and I kind of got introduced to jiu-jitsu as a byproduct through the UFC and through the Ultimate Fighter. And I used to help run a school with a good friend of mine named Salvatore, whose cousin was Kenny Florian. So we had some really cool connections there and was able to get, have some cool training experiences. And like 2 years after I started jiu-jitsu, like the day after I got my blue belt, I had my first MMA fight and did that for a few years. And but I think it was really that I just wanted to get back into martial arts. I did some as a kid, like Taekwondo, kind of sort of the path many white children from America do is just some Taekwondo. And it didn't really resonate with me. There was nothing about it. But as I got older, I kind of recognized that self-defense as a life skill is a non-negotiable, right? That's just like a thing that needed to be. I want to be able to take care of my family. I want to be able to protect myself. And I didn't really get in too many altercations and fights and issues as I was growing up. So I was sort of interested about that primal side of me, like how well would I fare against, another trained fighter in the ring where it's just, somewhat reasonable. I'm not trying to go to a bar and get into a bar fight. It was just like against another martial artist, how would that be? And so I got to do that for a while, which was, enlightening and was a lot of fun. And I recognized that wasn't going to be my career. So I just kind of checked that box and moved on and kept doing jiu-jitsu. And now it's been, almost 20 years.
Look at you, Matt. You mentioned Taekwondo. It brought me back like 20 years because that was my first introduction to, like, I didn't do Taekwondo. It was my cousin who did Taekwondo, but he brought me to his I guess you call it the dojo at that time. And I never forget that smell and like the intensity of it, the kicking. Like, oh, cool. I want to do this and be like a Power Ranger over here and learn some martial arts and stuff. But mind you, 20 plus years later, I finally got into jiu-jitsu, but it's been marvelous. I love it. I've gone through broken backs and all this stuff by not training, and now I'm back into the game. And jiu-jitsu is just a weird sport, man. I don't know how to describe it. It's so hard to describe to people. Like I tell people, you want to try jiu-jitsu? Like, what is it? Like I show them stuff. Like they just like, no, it's to be a certain type of crazy to understand or like appreciate the craziness of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think there's, different reasons that people get involved in it, whether it's for self-defense or if it's
Hmm.
for fun or exercise or whatever. But very quickly, I think if you get into it and you like it, it becomes somewhat of an obsession in a sense that like most people that are doing jujitsu are total nerds about doing jujitsu, and it just
We
grabs
are.
a hold of you differently and maybe with a little bit more intensity than other hobbies might, and it is there's I think it's a mix of things, camaraderie, the culture of what of the people that you get exposed to, the respect that you have
Hmm.
for people who also train because you know how hard it is, you know how much time and energy goes into it, and how emotionally and physically draining it can be. So there's like a mutual respect and camaraderie and just fun and exciting part of it, because it's a very primal thing for us. And in a normal day-to-day um, schedule for most people, that's just like not an element that's usually included in their day to day. So it's something very unique and you know um, tribal and just cool about it. So yeah, I mean, I love it. And I can't honestly imagine my life without jujitsu for sure.
Oh, but was there ever like a moment where? Because I have a follow up question with this because it's been on my mind for a couple of weeks, and I want to ask you. I thought about it. Was there ever a moment that you're like, I'm gonna quit? Like I had enough of this pain.
Um, not not really. I don't think I ever wanted to quit because maybe a little bit of my ego. Like I always wanted to. Everything that I did in my life, I kind of did to an extreme version of it. Like
Hmm.
I wasn't just like I got into riding dirt bikes and raced in the Baja 500 and raced in these big events, and it was just I did bodybuilding, but I competed. I did jiu-jitsu, but I wanted to fight MMA. It was just kind of the like always that was like sort of my mindset. So quitting wasn't really an option, but I noticed that I would have plateaus at almost every
Hmm.
belt where I'd feel like I kind of maxed out my learning, couldn't learn anymore. But retrospectively, I look back at that and I see that the way we were learning techniques was not by following a curriculum or any sort of modalities. It was just sort of like today's triangles, tomorrow's ankle locks, the next
Yeah.
day scissor sweep. So there wasn't much of a connection between them. And it wasn't until I started training where I am now with our academy, where I saw the results of training like that. I saw it with my
Hmm.
son, I saw it with my teammates, and even my own jujitsu. And when you're putting things together in a certain way, um, it it eliminates a lot of that feeling, like I'm in a plateau or I'm not
Yeah.
getting better, because by the time even one of our, white belts or blue belts comes out of a, uh, like back series, they're going to be way more proficient than just like a normal person who
Yeah.
move or a position from the back that day, right? They understand it a little bit more integrally. There's a lot more practice and emphasis on it. So probably if I was following that type of a training regimen, I wouldn't have experienced that as much. But there were definitely
Hmm.
times where I was like, I always felt good and competent, but I was feeling like it was going to take something big to have me jump over the hurdle, the next big
Hmm.
thing, like the next big understanding or big epiphany in my game,
Yeah.
or you know. So that was more of a little mental exercise, of going through that. But outside of that, no, man, I could never quit.
The reason why I'm asking that is because I hear this a lot, and I make jokes about it about the BJJ blue belts, the blue belt blues. Is it a real disease? And sometimes I question myself, and I go up and down like the good days, bad days, good days, bad days. I'm like, what happened? Last class I had was great, but the three classes before that, I started to question my jujitsu. Maybe I'm just having a bad night. Did you ever feel like you went down that path around like the blue belt stage?
Yeah, there's blue and purple is interesting because I think there's a very clear distinction between those two belts. And
Mm-hmm.
um, And I think people that get into jujitsu, it's such a measure of your patience, right? Because,
Hmm.
for me, it took a long time to get my black belt. And I was, I had mine even uh, held back from me for an extra year to 2 years, maybe more, um, and just had to go through that. So it became less about the belt and just about getting good at jujitsu. Because
Hmm.
even if I was a white belt, a blue belt, if I was good, like that's great. I don't need to know everything, um, but I think that that's a interesting belt between blue and purple. And I have seen people over the years get frustrated or start to feel like, hey man, I'm tapping out this purple belt, or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and why aren't I getting noticed, or why aren't
Yeah.
I getting promoted? And that's never going to be a black and white issue, because you have really big schools like Henry Gracie's school where you have hundreds and hundreds of students. So imagine like an instructor trying to remember every one of those people, and like, did you cut, how's your guard passing, how's this and that. They have very standardized check-in processes and things that
Yeah.
they've associated to time on the mat equaling belts, which to a lot of people is sort of like, oh, that's not cool, because then it's just about showing up and not really about
Hmm.
your skills. But you have to look at it from like a business standpoint. It's very
Yeah.
easy for a coach of 10 students to just keep an eye on everybody and go, yeah, I think
Yeah.
well, I think you're a brown belt or whatever. When you start really growing and expanding, you have to have some metrics and some other ways, so that everybody feels like, even though they're on their own journey, that they're still being monitored, they're still being watched over, they're still progressing. And so I think that's a challenge of the instructor, professor, of those academies to watch out for it. But ultimately, if you're in a place where you feel like your professor is incapable or incompetent of judging your jujitsu, then
Hmm.
you're either an idiot yourself or you're in the wrong school. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have to kind of just like submit to the process a little bit, trust the process, find somewhere where you feel supported, and you can have a good time and just enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, unless you're trying to be some top level competitor, you're probably doing this to stay in shape and to, make new friends, to network, to maybe learn how some self-defense. So like, just that can just be a really enjoyable process when you're not so consumed with, where you are and your progress. It's like Steve Martin has that quote, like, be so good that they can't ignore you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's it. Enjoy jujitsu, get good at it, and you will be noticed, and you'll progress, and that'll just be the way it goes.
No, for sure. I think like at a certain point we all reach a level or sorry, a point in our life where like we gotta change something about ourselves. And for me, that's what happened. Like I hurt my back, and at the luckily I found the school close to my home, and they're awesome there. They're very supportive, great people. I got back into shape. Now my son's 5 years old. He's at the age where he's really starting to like pay attention to me and the things I do. And I had the courage, Matt, to to say, you know what, I'm gonna compete. Let me get it over with. Let's just see what the big deal is. And massive anxiety, all this stuff. I end up getting second place. I wasn't happy though, because I wasn't happy with my performance. I don't think about the medal. I just wasn't happy with my performance. My wife was there. She was super happy. She's like, wow, second place. I'm like, no, it's not my best jiu-jitsu. But I came home, I get the medal to my son. I even talk about jiu-jitsu often now, like jiu-jitsu, and he's starting boxing next week. So
Very
he
cool.
sees me performing. He sees me doing these things now and training. Like, oh, Dad, you're going to gym tonight and this and that. So it started off with me just like trying to get better shape. So I'm a good example for my son. Whereas now I'm at the level where, okay, now he sees me, and now I'm like, whatever I'll say, inspiring him to like do something too. And that's kind of cool. I find like competing has given me that. Like brought me out of my box of being shy and scared all the time. And Matt, have you ever, like, I'm sure, like, have you competed before?
All the entire time I've been training, I've competed at every single belt level. Yeah,
Damn.
all the time.
Do you
Uh,
still compete now, or?
yeah, I have a fight scheduled. I have a super fight on February 10th. This evening jiu-jitsu event called Copa Elite. So they're doing like an absolute like 8-man bracket. They have
Mm-hmm.
a mixture of no gi and gi fights. So I had to go up in my weight a little bit for this one, because I
Okay.
normally am like 170 to 100. Well, no, like 175 to 185 pounds. Like I kind of
Okay.
fluctuate. So this was up to 200. So I've been trying to just eat a bunch of food and get a little bit
Yeah.
weight. But it's a IBJJF gi black belt match.
Reversals.
So yeah, man, and I'm doing it. My schedule is so hectic, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't get to. Um, I wouldn't be able to follow a normal traditional training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I did IBJJF, my first IBJJF tournament as a black belt, I was training a lot more, but it's very hard. And I'm 43. So like my body is, has taken a beating. I have arthritis. I got broken bones. I got all kinds of issues. So I'm not doing this because, I'm trying to get any kind of notoriety or anything like that. It's just because I enjoy it, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a stress that you can't emulate in just practice. Like we get very comfortable rolling with the people we roll with and this
Yeah.
and that. But like when I go and I travel around the world and I train with different academies, that's super exciting because that gives me a better gauge of my jiu-jitsu when I'm actually like out there. And then you add the stress of a stage and, an evening event and this whole thing. Like I was thinking about it today. I did compete in MMA events like that, but a lot of the jiu-jitsu tournaments that I did were, like local ones around here, but they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like traditional stuff. Like I didn't get to do these evening events, these flow grappling events, these really cool ones that they have now. Weren't even in existence like when I started. Um, so I thought it was very cool that I can be in jiu-jitsu this long and still be able to go out there and compete once in a while. And I just, I had to just check my ego and what I'm capable of, how often I can train, because part of my training regimen is not training. Like my
Mm.
body, you know what I mean? Recovery is like the
Yeah, recovery. Yeah.
not beating it up every day. I mean, we go in there and roll for hours um, and usually it's fine, but I've got like bulging discs in my back. We've got all kinds of stuff and ailments and things I'm working past. But I like to just, put it out there, bro, and be like, how's your jujitsu when you're, not at your best and you're just, you just have
Mm.
to go out and perform. And I think those kind of physical and mental challenges, like keep you feeling youthful and alive and just, and keeps your ego in check. And it's just, yeah, that's like kind of how I operate. I don't know.
Yeah. When I did my first competition, like I wasn't the biggest thing was there's like people around, right? There's like hundreds of people. Like I'm used to like max like 20, 30 people in a room.
Yeah.
So this was huge. Like my heart was like pounding. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" Everything. I was going to the bathroom often. I was drinking a lot. I did a lot of rookie mistakes, whatever. But at the end, regardless if I won a medal or not, it was fun. I
Yeah.
got that I want to come back again kind of thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it, Matt.
Yeah.
And
It's fun, man.
it is fun. I already signed up for another one in March, but I told my wife I'm signing up for at least 5 this year. She's like, what, 5? I'm like, yeah, I gotta. It's fun. Like you had fun coming with me, this and that. We
Yeah.
get to eat at places we don't like. There's we don't have Red Lobster here in Montreal, but we have one like it was in Ontario, so a little bit further out. So like, oh, we can go to like Red Lobster, Chick-fil-A, or all those kind of cool places we don't have here. I'm like, yeah, that's right. See, it's a win. Let's do more tournaments.
There you go. Yeah, I think my first jiu-jitsu tournament when I started was a month after I started.
Mm.
It was just like, let's try it. Let's go out there and just make it happen. And yeah, man, there's no, at the end of the day, also when I started doing MMA, then jiu-jitsu tournaments were way less stressful too. Cause I was like, I'm going out there and I'm not getting punched in the face. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we could just do some jiu-jitsu. We do that all the time. That's fun. I'm not getting elbowed. I'm not getting kneed. Like way less stress prospectively once once I kind of did that, then I was like, this is easier. So I've kind of just, I don't think you ever get rid of the nerves. I mean, I always,
No.
will have that and that'll be present. But a lot of it's like visualization and stuff beforehand. And it kind of, puts me in a good space when I'm there, because I've already been there in my mind many times before we're even on stage. So
I think it's healthy to be nervous. I'm always nervous for like, when I used to do like photography for weddings, I used to get nervous every wedding. Every podcast I do, I always get nervous just before. And now every role I get nervous, but it's an exciting type of nervous because once the podcast is done or I'm talking about, like, I'm just so happy. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah. It's like, okay, let me be on time. Make sure my camera works and everything. It's just like that beginning nervousness. Even with jiu-jitsu, as soon as I touched the mat and the rep was like, go. Okay, cool. I'm like, everything just reset. Everything just like, why was I stressing the whole time for nothing? Why did I lose sleep for this? It's a local tournament.
Right.
It's but I got something out of it. Regardless, I actually
wouldn't do this though. Like most people don't put themselves in these positions, so it's respectable when you do. It's like Test yourself, man. Like a lot of times people don't want the ego check, you know?
Yeah, that's it. And I was happy to lose one match too, because I made a crazy mistake, but I just lost the momentum and I slipped and he choked me out. But my wife's like, "Oh, you almost had him." I'm like, "Yeah, but it reassures me, rechecks my okay. Now I got to work on this and whatever." And
Yeah.
yeah, I was so excited. The most thing I was stressed about was my wife actually, because my wife didn't know at the time what jiu-jitsu was really all about. She was never used to that intensity, and she saw me. She's like, "This is what you do." I'm like, "This is it, honey.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of savages." But I told her, worst case, I just tap and that's it. There's like, I don't want to break everything. I have to work the next day, kind of, I need my arm. I need it,
Exactly.
Matt. Gotta type on the
Exactly.
keyboard and stuff. It's crazy world of
Exactly.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no.
But Matt, as a competitor and as a coach, I always like to ask people. There has to be something you love in jiu-jitsu and something you hate. What is? Let's start off what you love the most in jiu-jitsu, and then after what you hate pisses you off the most in jiu-jitsu.
What I love the most,
Besides strangling people, but that could be your answer too.
yeah. Well, I mean, for me personally, I just enjoy what we're doing. I enjoy fighting. Like I
Mhm.
enjoy, the combat aspect of it because again, it's so unique and so much different than all the day to day like things that we do. There's not
Yeah.
like I could play basketball, I could do all these things, but like fighting another person is in a different category. And so
Yeah.
when I think about going in and doing that and sharpening that skill, it's like rewarding on different levels. It's rewarding where I started training my son when he was 5. He's now an absolute monster. Like, I
Mm,
mean, like he got his blue belt at 17. I got mine at 27, and so
amazing.
you can see, yeah, like I can see how that's positively affected him. I can look back and just see all of the people that I met over the years, then that like my life, my business partners, my friends are completely different because of jujitsu. Like the
Hmm.
whole path, like it changed a lot. So I think you can't really, I guess, bottle it up into one specific thing. I love that it keeps me in shape. I love that, I feel good after I'm done doing it. I love the people I get to train with. And yeah, and getting my black belt was like one of my biggest accomplishments in my life, because it's just not easy
No.
to do. And, it's just not easy. And to be competing the whole time, throughout that process, I felt like kept me honest. And so those are kind of all the aspects, I guess, that I love the most about it. And as far as what I don't like about it,
Here we go.
man, I think I don't like when I see um, certain schools and coaches treat the academies like cults, like where there's
Mm,
that bow to the instructor mentality and everything's this egotistical, I'm the man and you're the peasant and whatever, because it's like,
yeah.
well, actually I pay you to be here, so I'm your customer. And in most
Yeah.
businesses, if you give me bad customer service, I'm going to not be there, not, do business with you again. But for some reason, jiu-jitsu falls in this weird space where people get involved and then they just become subservient to their coaches in a toxic way,
Yeah.
and you, not that you see it all the time, but it's definitely out there. It definitely exists. And I think it takes away from the sort of, mahalo, the sort of like just, brother and sisterhood sort of a vibe that
Yeah.
jujitsu has, and makes it this culty, weird, egotistical, narcissistic type of an environment. And so I think that's probably, I mean, that's obviously not just jujitsu. There's other martial arts, like
Yeah.
my buddy Rob, runs McDojo Life. He
Yeah, for
obviously,
sure. I was about to
he,
talk about him.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, gives plenty of examples of how this kind of stuff happens. So, and people use those, um, positions of authority for
Yeah.
not such positive things. So that's an unfortunate part, because it always, when I think that people are going out and somebody's maybe giving jiu-jitsu an opportunity, and they're unfortunately in an area where maybe they have limited access to a lot of schools, and they end up at a school where that's the case, then that's their experience and that's their introduction to jiu-jitsu. And it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of people that went into those circumstances don't make it out with, becoming lifelong jiu-jitsu people. And that's sort of the tragic part of it, is that had they been in a different, more positive environment, they would have had a different experience, and then they would have, probably kept it in their life, and would have experienced all of the benefits that, being a jiu-jitsu person can give you. So
yeah, I agree with that, actually, because when I chose my school, like, I didn't do much homework, so I just looked at Google reviews. Looked pretty good. It's 5 stars. All right, next to my house. So far, so good. It's passing both tests.
right.
But after a few years, like, even like in the beginning, like when I rolled with my coach or just the people, it's somewhere where I can feel like I can just be myself. So I like to joke a lot. I swear a lot. I joke a lot. And my coach, he's super accepting with that. He was actually on my podcast a few weeks back, and he's just a guy I can talk to. I can open up with, joke with him, and all that stuff. He'll laugh it out, or he'll just look at me with a weird face. But I can be myself with him. There's like no like I'm the law kind of thing, and you have to do what I say. He's just like, he's like a chill guy. He's like your friend coach, and I love that environment. So I was really lucky to. But there are some schools out there, as you see on McDojo Life, it's crazy. I can't believe some of the stuff I watch and that Rob posts. It's scary stuff out there.
I think some people don't even know what they don't know, right? They don't even, understand the way that these sort of, situations can unfold, and they just kind of walk in, and you sort of like are just falling in line, right? Like if everybody else there is kissing the professor's ass and doing all this stuff, and like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we do here. And so, man, I don't know. I've seen both sides of it. Our school right now is very relaxed. It's, very chill. Lots of different schools, people from different academies come and train at our open mats because we're just kind of open and, very cool with everybody. So that's, once I was a part of that, I was like, oh, this is how it should be. This is way better. It's the other experiences I've had where I'm like, this is not, doesn't feel right in my soul,
Let's put it this way. If my coach starts teaching us Tai Chi and we can knock people down with just looking at them, I'm going to start asking questions like, no, this is not right. I've seen enough Dojo Life to know this is bullshit.
Oh, dude. I got to, I'm in the documentary that he's putting out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I went out and filmed with him for like a week out in Fresno when he was filming, and was at one of, we did a seminar,
the pressure tests and all that stuff. Yes.
We thought, and I've never, it was the craziest thing. Like, I can't wait till it comes out because people are going to lose their mind. It's hilarious. The best stuff ever, dude.
I can only imagine. And I spoke to Rob too. Like, it's a long process, right? It's not just like you make a movie and that's it kind of thing. Like,
oh yeah. There was like refilming. There was a lot of stuff with COVID that interrupted things.
Yeah.
But it's happening. It's going to finish. They've got, Jocko Willink as an executive producer.
Yes. I remember that.
Awesome. And so super proud of him. He's become a very, very good friend of mine. And Rob's been like such a huge help and such a awesome just friend. Like, that guy's just like a great friend, and I was lucky enough to meet him kind of early on, and so we've been able to do some really fun stuff together. We got ADCC, we're going to be out there together, so always good times. So
Rob's super chill. He came on my podcast when I first started, and even when I message him, he'll like reply to my messages. Like, how do you reply to all your messages? He's like, dude, it takes me the whole day. It's like, and he's gonna come back eventually. He's gonna come back. He's just a super nice guy. Like, I'll make time for it. Talk about martial arts, like, for sure. Awesome, man.
Man, he's a great guy.
He is. Oh, man. And that's what I want to mention, because we spoke about McDojo Life. There's one story I spoke to Rob about that is by far my favorite story of McDojo Life. I don't know if you ever saw this clip. It was a sir who just did like Tai Chi by sitting on a couch. And
I think I did see. Yeah, I think I saw it.
He looked like a character from the 70s show.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the funny part. What scared me the most was he did his whole thing and he released the energy and this and that. But the people in the comments, and there was one guy in the comments saying, "Hey man, I was there. It works." And holy crap, we are reaching a new level of. I can't believe. I am scared to like imagine the people going in this type of school.
Oh, they do. You just get them. I talked to Rob about this a few times about like, that's why you had psychologists and different people interviewed in the documentary that were analyzing like, hey, how could you be this crazy? Like, how could you
Yeah.
objectively be a human being, like an adult and walking around the world and also think that this stuff is like normal? And you just get bought in. Like you know, people want to be part of something and they want to be part of a group. And then, they can latch on and those people feed into individuals, ignorance,
Hmm.
lack of knowledge, and on their need to be accepted. And so there are some really interesting points of how people sort of concoct these situations, but then once they're in, yeah, they're like playing dress up. But we've seen examples where stuff gets put on TV and then people respond in a certain way. So it's just, you can just train people to kind of do what you want, like
Yeah.
that's why you gotta be, you gotta have, like a little bit of the ability to look at things and
Yeah.
have,
Critical
yeah, a
thinking.
little critical thinking.
Ask questions. Does this really work? Should I be treated this way? Should I be hit on the head by my teacher? Is this abuse? Like
Yeah.
all these
I mean,
questions.
like we spent the first 20 minutes of that seminar that's in this documentary being shown how to wake somebody up from the chi punch that we're not going to do to them. So it was like we literally spent time just, oh, you got to, you swat them on the head and pat their back and dance around, click some spoons together, whatever the hell he was talking about. And then all of a sudden they wake up and I'm like, are we going to knock people out with this stuff? And he's like, well, no, we're not. I'm not at that level. Apparently there's like, he was at the non-grandmaster level where he couldn't knock people out, but he's, fully
he,
bought in.
he had the golden spoons, special
Oh
spoons, the
my God.
pressure burns. He knew where to hit. Come
It's
on,
wild.
Matt.
It's
Do
wild.
your research.
So yeah. I don't know. Apparently I'm out of the loop.
Well, Matt, since we're talking about these dojos, but I want to ask you something else. Like, let's say outside of competing, was there ever a time that you had to use your martial arts, your jiu-jitsu in a real life situation?
Yeah. There
Oh,
was
damn.
actually. I lived in Nashville for a little bit,
Hmm.
so we opened up a restaurant off of Broadway. So if anybody's ever been to Nashville, there's the main strip is called Broadway. It's where like a lot of the bars and restaurants, and there's First and Second Avenue. So we had a quick service Mexican restaurant on Second Avenue, and Nashville was pretty docile. Like there was homeless people there. There was a lot of partying because a lot of bachelorette parties and people coming in. And so it was a little wild, but not too crazy, not too crazy. You'd see fights every now and then. And, I remember I was with my boss at the time and we were walking out on Broadway and we were on the other side of the street and we saw these two guys get into a fist fight. And
Hmm.
clearly both of them didn't know how to fight, but they're just swinging for the fences. And the one guy just gets clipped by, sheer luck
Yes.
and knocks him out like standing. And he falls and hits his head and he's just like laying on the ground. And I'm still watching. I'm like, it wasn't, yeah, I mean, he kind of like went down. He didn't fall just straight back, but he sat up after he, sort of came to a couple seconds and he's just sitting there on the ground with his legs stretched out, sitting up. And this guy who had just punched him ran at him like a football player and kicked him in the head, straight in the head,
Oh,
like he was punting a football.
soccer kick style. Yeah, that's the
Oh, dude,
worst.
the guy
I
was
hate
still like
those.
dazed and didn't even know what was going on. And he just got kicked in the face and his head hit the pavement. And I'm across the street and it was a horrific sound that it made of his head hitting the pavement.
God.
So immediately I was like, is this guy dead? Like what's going on? Because nobody's doing anything. So I run across the street and I go down to check this guy to just see, is he breathing? Is he alive? What's going on? And there happened to be like a nurse, was just, out and about. Like I was like, hey, is anybody a doctor? Is anybody a nurse? She said, I'm a nurse. So I brought her over and we're just
Mhm.
examining to see is like the back of his head split? Is he, whatever. And this guy who just did that is still like riled up. Like he looked like maybe he was on some kind of drugs or something, but he was like, he was hyped and he looked like he was about to fight these other people that were all very concerned that he might have just killed this man by, doing this.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing anything. In my head, I thought, I don't want him to run off and not be held
Mhm.
accountable for this. And I don't want him to hurt anybody else. And so, I'm standing over there, and I look at my boss, and I instinctively, I give him my phone, and I go, hey, hold this for me for a second. And I walk over to the guy, and I kind of came at like an angle to him, put my arm around his head, and I hip tossed him, heels to Jesus, straight,
Yeah.
onto the ground. And when we hit the ground, I had his arm behind his back and had a reverse knee on belly position on his back, right?
Nice.
And he was yelling the whole time, "I'm sorry, officer. I'm sorry, officer." He thought that I was a cop.
I was a cop.
Yeah. And as I did that and had him down, people started to come and get involved, and I was yelling at everybody to get off, and back up, because I wanted to like maintain control of this guy. And so I'm holding him there, and he's a little busted up from hitting the ground, but like not, nothing bad. And I look up and I see this whole cavalry of Nashville police officers on horses just coming down the road, like fucking cavalry, bro, just coming down the road. And I'm like thinking, I'm going to jail immediately.
Exactly.
Hey, because you're an idiot and just got involved in this situation, now you're definitely going to jail. Yeah. And so I'm there. I'm holding this guy. The cops are talking to everybody. And my boss goes to one of the cops. He's like, hey, man, what should my guy do here? Because like at this point, I'm literally holding this guy with like a Kimura grip on a reverse knee on belly and holding him on the street. And the cops looks at my boss and goes, oh, no, just tell him to stay right there. He's doing a great job. Just keep doing what he's doing. So I held him there in that position, controlled, while the cops figured out what was up, while they arrested him, handcuffed him, took him away. And the ambulance came, took the other guy away, and literally one by one, I think there was 5 or 6 cops there, shook my hand and thanked me.
Nice.
And for like intervening in a way that wasn't me fighting. Because, bro, you could hit somebody, clip somebody, they get knocked out, and then hit their head on the pavement, and their brain swells, and then they die. Like that shit happens,
It could, yeah.
So to be able to just go in and just sort of like, I don't know, again, I probably shouldn't have gotten involved at all, but there was just this like violent circle of stuff that was just erratic, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And this guy was the X factor in all of that. And so I just thought like, okay, well, this is, whatever, this is what's going to happen. And just instinct, kicked in, and it was like one of those, cool, you fix the situation kind of a moment, and everybody was cool about it. And I was like, great, probably wouldn't do that again. I don't need to get involved again, but yeah. So that was one time where I had to, use jiu-jitsu, and it was very helpful. And I mean, we see those Instagram posts all the time, right? Where you see cops and people, and they just have no idea how to hold them, nothing, like where their weight should be, like just clueless. And the guys just get up and run away.
Yeah.
It's pretty unacceptable, to be honest with you. So it was good. And I was excited about being able to use that in a real world situation, but.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure the cops also took some notes down. Like, okay, he held his hand like this. His knee was directly here.
Yeah, they were very cool about it. So I was surprised. I thought I was going to jail.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Jiu-jitsu, it all paid off for this moment.
For that moment.
For that moment. I can retire. No. But I like to ask that question because I haven't got into an altercation ever in my life. Ever. Which is weird.
Blessing, bro. It's a blessing.
It is a blessing, though. I tell my wife it's a blessing. I told my wife it's probably people are scared the way I look, maybe with my tattoos and this and that. But as soon as I open my mouth, like you hear my voice, it's not scary at all. I don't have like a deep Sean Connery kind of voice that I always prayed for. This is my voice, so clearly I'm not intimidating anybody with my voice.
Yeah.
But I do get scared when I see fights. Even though I have training now, it's not something I want to see, and it's not something I ever want to be in. I don't want to be in any fight ever. I think that's another reason why I never got into a fight, because I don't want to be in a fight. But
people do crazy shit too. Like
that too.
People get stabbed, people get shot. People get smashed with glass and cut. I mean, just like you don't know what that person's deal is and how willing they are and how much red they're going to see if you start really getting into it. So even though I have jiu-jitsu, like I'm still not trying to get, a bottle jammed in my neck or like shot or stabbed, or like I'll avoid a fight at any cost for sure. I don't,
Yeah.
it's people's ego when they're like, you watching too many John Wick movies and,
Yeah.
they run around thinking you're going to beat everybody's ass. So yeah, I for sure avoid it. But I will tell you, the honest truth is that I walked around for most of my jiu-jitsu life going, somebody fuck with me. Somebody fuck with me. I just want to be able to play this one time. I just want to be able to, I just want to see how is it going? Because you have this like Karate Kid, we're gonna scrap on the beach and it's gonna be totally fine after we're done. But that's, as an adult, it doesn't always go that way.
No.
There's jail, there's cops, there's just so many things that go on. So it's like always avoid fights. But just knowing that what I know for certain is that if you've never been in a fight and if you're not trained in jiu-jitsu and you fight me, like if you better be 300 pounds or something, because you can't even conceive like what jiu-jitsu people can do with controlling somebody's body effortlessly. Like you're not going to accidentally beat up a jiu-jitsu black belt. Like it's just probably not going to happen. No. And even most jiu-jitsu, I'd say even like blue belts, like people that have been training like 2 years or so and have a good, you're already like knowledge wise and skill wise, like way ahead of the population. People have to rely on strength and, just going crazy to be able to combat that. And we're just like do, and 6 seconds later you're asleep.
And there's 0% cardio that they have after one baseball punch, and they're already done. Like, okay, this will be a fun match.
Oh, yeah, it's no good. So yeah, I'm with you. It's good that you haven't been in a fight, but it's also good to just know that if you did, you have better chances than if you were completely untrained. Yeah, right.
So I tell myself, Matt, I feel like if it does happen by whatever means, at least I know, okay, I have the upper hand. But being a little bit older now, soon to be 38. With all my beautiful hair still, not really, guys, I'm bald, as you know. But I'll have the upper hand, but I evaluate the situation always. Like, I'll look around, okay, is it really one guy? Is it a few guys? Okay. Do they have weapons? I have my child here, my son, my wife. Okay, let's just turn away. I'll be a coward today, and let's just walk away from this kind of thing. It's scary, because it happened, I mentioned on one of my other podcasts, or maybe a few times, where when my wife was pregnant, we were in a car and we're driving off, and this person was like not moving. And then she just like stopped in the middle of the road, or he stopped in the middle of the road. So I'm like, okay, honk. A little bit aggressive, because like you're stopping in the middle of the road, mister. And he did a 360, came like revving his car all the way back, stopped the car, like went in front of me, slammed the brakes, and just looked at me like crazy like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell's wrong? Imagine you're crazy enough to do this. And he had his wife in the car too.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's unstable human beings.
Bro. That day really made me think, okay, listen, I can't just, even a honk nowadays, you'll trigger someone.
I was having this conversation about this with my buddy the other day, and I was like, we don't have polite honking. Like we don't have anything built in our car where it's just like a gesture. Like I'm just giving you a light screen. You know what I mean? Just a little sound that's not like a fuck you, go and move, like every honk you can only, like it's got one thing, which is like, I hate you, go and move. Like it just comes off terribly. I'm like, we should have some polite honks, like a little, my car. Nice thing about Tesla, they have this little feature where when the light turns green, there's a little chime in your car that just ding and lets you know. Okay. So if you're doing something and distracted, I hear that, I go, light's green. That's cool, but not everybody has that. And so you just can't, somebody sits there and there's a very short period of time where you're like, all right, this light's still green. They're not going. I don't want to be a dick, but I got to let them know. But so you try to do like a half honk kind of a thing.
But it never works out.
Yeah, it's a tough one, dude. I think the world is in need of some polite honks.
Yeah. I have that feature too. I think it's for me, it has to be another car in front of me. And as soon as it it warns me. It gives me a little chime. It's really good. I try also the you flash the lights there, but that never works. They never see that. Even with LEDs, they don't see none of that.
No.
But lesson learned, even in your car with locked doors, you don't want to take a chance. Just drive off.
Yeah.
I'll never forget his face, man. It was like, am I in a real horror movie right now? Why do you want to kill me? I just honked at you because you stopped.
Yeah.
Crazy?
Yeah. You don't know what's going on in that dude's life and like where you caught him in
that's
today.
It.
And like
that's it.
That's the unknown. It's not worth it, like to go be a hero or whatever, man. I don't want any part of that.
keep my record strong. No fights.
Yeah, man.
Well, besides jiu-jitsu, real fight. Like I'm seeing like real life fights. Like people
Yeah.
want to curve me. But now, Matt, I want to dive into the epic roll business.
Yes, sir.
How did you get into this? What made you want to start epic roll, Matt?
Well, I wanted to make gear for myself selfishly in the beginning because I had all of the jiu-jitsu shirts. There's always some companies out there, but when you go to a jiu-jitsu tournament, you'd see companies that are selling those jiu-jitsu shirts that are more like novelty, and there is a place for those. It's fine, like a Starbucks knockoff or Coca-Cola or whatever. Like we all had the shirts. It's totally fine. But I wanted to make something that was a little bit more of a lifestyle brand, something that people could wear, and it didn't have to be like this ironic, Etsy type of a vibe of a shirt. And so I found out about drop shipping, which for people that don't know is the ability to sort of white label products that already exist and put your designs on it and then be able to sell it e-commerce without actually holding inventory. So
yes,
I have over, I think like 60 t-shirt designs. If I were to try to hold inventory on all of those t-shirt designs and all the sizes and the color variations, it would be
out of business.
It's hard enough to just do it with all of our gis and rash guards and shorts. I have this 2,000 square foot headquarters here where all of our inventory is, and it's just it continues to pile up. So it would be very challenging. So drop shipping was great because it gave you the ability to really test designs without a huge financial obligation. You don't get as much profit, but what you save is a whole lot of headache and hassle, and right.
The testing mostly,
exactly. So I was rolling with a buddy of mine, and as we were done, I was just like, oh, that was an epic roll. Like, it just sort of like fell out of my mouth. And and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool name, epic roll. So I went home and checked the URLs and looked at everything and got the web address, created the logo. And the goal was to just make some t-shirts to begin with, and like ranked t-shirts. So some of our designs have a little bit of a belt color here and here for like black belt, purple belt, whatever. So I was kind of geared to make more like ranked gear, since people are in these belts for so long. I thought it'd be cool to have some gear that was a little bit more geared towards allowing people to sort of rep that belt ranking throughout the time, and then progress from there. So so I started making the t-shirts and put them out there, and got some friends that liked it. And then over time it was like, hey, do you make rash guards? Do you make anything else? And I was like, oh, I guess maybe we should make these things, and slowly introduced product by product, no gi stuff, more rash guards, and the collection sort of evolved. And it was just organic because my full-time job has been real estate for the past almost 10 years. My wife and I have a real estate team. And so that's been it. This was like a side project that turned into a side hustle that turned into an entire other, fully fledged business. And that now requires like a ton of time to participate in, which is amazing, which is great. But completely just as like a little side project to make some cool jiu-jitsu shirts that I thought were comfortable, and and I liked, and I was a designer. And so so for me, I knew I had like a good design eye, and kind of put that out there, and hey man, here we are.
And they are beautiful. They are super comfy. And like I told you before, my wife, she looked at the hoodies and she's like, wow, those are nice hoodies.
That's awesome.
Without even being like jiu-jitsu based, she's like, those are nice hoodies. I'm like, oh, thank you. And I'm actually wearing this a lot because it's just super comfy. It's like a hybrid cotton. I don't know what it is. It's just soft on my body. That's all I know, because I hate all cotton. Like it's not bad. It's like it gets really warm and it fuzzes up, but this it's easy to wash. It's a pajama. It's a fashionable, comfy pajama for me that looks good.
Yeah, man.
That's the best way I can describe it, man. Your hoodies. Your hoodies are top notch, dude.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, our rash guards, our t-shirts, hoodies, we had a lot of positive feedback from people about how they fit, and we use expensive products. Like that's the thing. A lot of companies, if you're just looking at the profit margin, you're just going to be looking, what's the cheapest t-shirt I can get? And then you get one of those boxy Gildan bullshit shirts that
Gildan. That's
nobody wants to wear, that doesn't. Now they do make some like blends that are like decent, but our shirts and next level Bella and Canvas, certain ones are just higher quality, and so we wanted that to be sort of the thing, because it's not just about having lifestyle gear, it's about also making stuff that people really like and they really want to wear and is comfortable. So if you
Yeah.
really like the brand and super comfortable, it's like two of
And
the
it
most
lasts.
critical
Yeah.
elements of getting people hooked on wanting to wear it. So it just grew organically and through word of mouth and with very little budget. It was just all about networking, man. Networking is such an important, critical part for entrepreneurs and people trying to grow businesses, that's that I put a huge emphasis on that from the beginning, and that's
Mhm.
paid off dividends for sure.
Oh, for sure. Even just like your Instagram account. I think if you guys don't know, like I think we met through like my memes. That's how we met, through my reels and my memes. And at the time I remember a while back, you're like around 20,000 followers. Out here, well over 50,000. So it's like the progression's there. You got a lot of big names there now. It's holy crap.
It's
Like
it's
damn,
wild, man, and
it's
it's
crazy.
such a wild series of events. I was watching last night some videos. I'll do these video logs on my phone just for me personally, because I'm
Yeah.
writing a book, and I want to be able to look back at these times and remember. And I was watching videos of me talking about how saying how I was going to somehow convince Zoltan to be my partner in Epic Roll, that I was going to do this, I was going to do that. And I'm looking at these things that were four years ago, 5 years ago, and now are all true and have all come to fruition. And I think once I saw a little bit of a spark with the response in the community, I think that encouraged me to keep going. And I created a relationship with Chewy really early on, and I got a little bit of street cred, I think, from that, and was just very organic. So when I would reach out to people on Instagram, I would just say, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I have. Love to send you some stuff to check out. Like, no strings attached. You don't have to post things. You don't have to do anything." And so I took down that like barrier wall that people have, where they feel like some obligation. If you send me something, now I have to post it. Now I have to do this and that. I'm like, you don't have to do any of that. Just, if you like it and if you want to post something, cool. So I put it on them, and that you'd get like one person, and then someone else sees that. And over time, man, we were sitting there. I remember doing this photo shoot out in LA. And actually the photo shoot that we, got all these, and
Nice.
it was, I'm like sitting around, I'm like Mike Beltran and Michael Kroger and Nickelback and Jeff Glover, all these
Crazy.
different people. And I'm like, this is wild. Like, and these are like friends of mine who genuinely want to help me succeed. They genuinely love the brand. They're like constantly pushing it on their own. And that just came from not me approaching it like a fanboy, like us developing relationships. And so now it's invaluable to me, because I have the most incredible people that I can call and ask questions about social media, about YouTube, about whatever it is that's going on, because I know people that are doing everything to the best ability that they can. They're the experts in their field, right? And so it's kind of like your network, you know, dictates your net worth. And I surrounded myself with people that were super successful and like-minded, and then amazing things happen, because you can only do so much on your own. So you really
Yeah.
have to, if you're growing a business, you have to at a certain point look at how you can expand and 10x that. And when Zoe and Heather became partners, that was a milestone for sure, with us. And it really showed me like there's some people out there that really have a deep rooted belief in this brand and me. And I remember Zoe telling me that he was genuinely impressed with the fact that, as one guy, I built this brand where he kept meeting people that were either wearing Epic Roll or knew me and liked me and were supporting me. And that was impressive to him, to somebody who has accomplished so much in his life. That was humbling for me to hear, and feeling great knowing that like he was buying into this company and buying into me. Like he believed in what I was doing and knew that with support and help and having the right team behind, that we could make this the largest jiu-jitsu brand on the planet for sure.
Damn. Look at you now. Growing, man. Growing, man. It's awesome.
It is, man. Nobody cares for a long time, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, man. but I love it, and I know that I'm getting an opportunity to make an impact in like the culture of jiu-jitsu, be
Yes.
something
Yeah.
that will be remembered for, you know, a long time, just like Tap Out was a brand that, whether people think it's corny now or not, was like, those guys
Yeah.
started that from the back of their car, just slinging shirts in the parking lot at UFC events, and became $100 million, company and this brand. So we're on an awesome path, and we have so much opportunity in front of us, and it's a very exciting time.
Awesome. Well said, Matt. Well said. Well, Matt, I just want to say thank you very much for jumping on my podcast with your busy schedule.
Absolutely.
Guys, look at this. Look at this again. So soft, guys. I'm sorry. See, when I like something a lot, I talk about it a lot.
That's
It's
great.
really
You
comfy.
can talk
I've been
about it
wearing
all
this
you
a
want.
lot.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So, Matt, I'll say thank you again. Until next time. All right, nerds. Have a good day. Keep rolling. Don't stop. Oos.